Before you begin trying to replace the screen, first you need to unplug the power. And then you need to remove the battery. So you have these two buttons right here that you push and slide, and the battery comes out. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to remove these rubber pieces that are right here and here so that you can see the screws. This is a Phillips screw, so you want to remove these two screws. You're going to put these two screws somewhere where they're easy to find. Next, you have to begin popping this case off that's around the screen. Start on the bottom corner, then kind of work your way around. Do it gently, you don't want to break anything. Okay, I was having a little trouble with these little pieces right here that wrap around this, but what you do, you just grab a hold of them. You grab a hold of it and you kind of pull up and it'll come off. Okay, you finally get that faceplate off. Maybe yours will come off a little easier. You have to keep playing with it. There is a couple little grabber arms right here on each one of these that hold underneath that, and so it made it more difficult to get it off. There's also 4 screws on the left. This is held or bracket that holds the screen in on each side, and then we'll take off this last on top. These screws are real small, so be careful not to lose them. And 4 more on the other side. Okay, when you take this off, up here are 2 components that are plugged to a ribbon that has a sticky tape on the back of the screen. So you need to be careful and carefully peel the sticky tape off so that you can get the screen out like this, and you can lay it down on your keyboard. And you have this one main connector that connects the screen to the laptop. And as you can see on this new one, it has a place for it right here. That's where the ribbon will go in. This has sticky tape that helps hold this in place. You're going to be very careful with this connector. And so this had a piece of tape on it that was holding it in place. So once the connector is free, then you have the display off. Now my screen looks just like this. And to help protect the screen, it came with a plastic bag. So I'd recommend sticking that on top of the keyboard. And this has some plastic and stuff we'll peel off here in a little bit till we get the connector on. And so you want to put this connector back on very carefully. You don't want to force anything. Just take your time with this part. Make sure it goes on there all the way. You'll see it snap in place when it's on there good. Just use the tape that's already on here and push that back down. and then it's reconnected. Now you can take the tape off for the front screen cover, and you can put it back inside here. Be careful with it. And you can stick that little cable back on the back of that again, and you hold it in place and put your screws back on the side. And it turned out that I didn't actually have to take these top two screws out after all. After you get the first screw started, don't tighten it all the way down, so that way you'll be able to line the other screws up. After you get a couple in, you won't have to worry about trying to hold on to the screen. But you definitely need to hold on to the screen until you get a few screws in, otherwise it will fall. If you need an extra hand, you could just use some tape and then kind of put it across here to help hold it in place for you. I'm going to try to do it one-handed. There we go, got a couple in over there now. Still be careful. As you can see, the screen kind of came out a little bit on that side over there. I wouldn't tighten them up all the way yet. I'd go ahead and get the other side started first. Get all 4 screws started before you start doing any tightening. Go ahead and tighten all the screws down now. You don't want to go crazy with it. Just get them nice and snug. Okay. Now before you put the plate back on, we need to go ahead and test it and make sure that it's working. Make sure we got our connector on good, so we don't have to retake the bezel off and all that. So you can either plug the power back up and test it that way, or you can put the battery back on, and that's what I'm going to do. If everything went well and I turned the power on, the screen should power up. And everything should look like it's supposed to. Okay, everything looks good. Now if you want to be extra cautious, you can go ahead and take the battery off once again. But I'm not going to do that because I don't have any more connectors to deal with. I just need to pop this cover back on and put my 2 screws in. And those go on a lot easier than they came off. Then you just want to start snapping this thing back in place. All the way around. Make sure it's popped all the way back in. Down here in the center, put your hand behind the screen to give it some support as you pop in those. And then put in the longer screws that are silver. And then all you have left is putting on the little covers that cover up the screws. So they don't fall off, I would push them down kind of good with a screwdriver or some other type of plastic object. Just be careful so you don't scratch anything. And do the same thing for the other side. And it's done.